everyone. I got a story for us tonight out of the Mary Goes Shopping book. Excuse me. Tonight's story is called A Dog's Life, and it is by Danielle Fike as told to Verna Pollock. It seems like it's going to be a good one to me. A Dog's Life. You guys ready? Let's get started. Finnegan! Finnegan! I called as I pushed open my front door. I had just returned from my grandmother's funeral in Western Canada, 2,000 miles away from my North Carolina home. It had been a long trip. My dear grandma was my babysitter when I was a child, and my best friend for as long as I could remember. Now she was gone. She had suffered 2 heart attacks in one day and had died 2 days later. I was fortunate to get there in time to talk to her one last time, to say I love you and goodbye while she was still coherent. Finnegan, I called again, but no eager bark welcomed me. I was puzzled. My friend had promised to have my Dalmatian pointer puppy home when I arrived. I had told her it would be too late for me to pick him up, and I didn't want to leave him at the kennel another night. Something must have changed her plans. I dropped my gear in the hall and looked in all the rooms. As I entered my bedroom, my heart sank. There he was on the bed, lying in a puddle of vomit. Yuck, I muttered. Finnegan, I cried out, what is the matter? He didn't even seem to recognize me as he peered through half-shut eyes. I grabbed a towel, wrapped him, and held his trembling body close to me. Then I frantically picked up the phone and called my friend. Between sobs, I told her about my pet. She assured me that Finnegan had been fine, although somewhat subdued when she brought him home earlier, but she had thought he was just lonesome. I'll take him to the veterinarian, I said. Will you call and tell him I'm bringing Finnegan over? The city was quiet as I raced across town, but my mind was in turmoil. Finnegan had truly cheered my heart so much in the few short weeks I'd had him. Was I going to lose him too? I hoped it wasn't anything serious. The day I met this little furball, I had just experienced the breakdown of a relationship, and although I had a great job and lots of friends, I felt sad and lonely. When I looked to his runt of the litter, my heart was captivated. He's just like me, sad and lonely, I had thought. Maybe we're good for each other. And indeed we were. Finnegan became my constant companion, bringing much comfort and joy with his boundless energy and love. Memories of Grandma filled my mind as I sped along in the car. I thought of the times I'd sat on her lap as a little girl, when we'd sing together. Other times she'd read to me or told me stories from the Bible. Whenever I had a problem, she would always say, God cares about everything, Danielle. Let's tell him about it. He will help you. How I wished she were here now as I wondered, does God care about pets? I believed Grandma and respected her faith, but had never accepted it personally. So I hesitated to approach God, but this was serious. Please, God, don't let Finnegan die. Sorry, something popped up. Please, God, don't let Finnegan die, I pleaded. You answered Grandma's prayers. Please hear mine too. Finally, I pulled into the parking space of the animal clinic and rushed inside. Finnegan was no longer trembling, but lay limp and quiet in my arms. Dr. Smithy gently took him from me and placed him on the exam table. Finnegan never moved. Fear clutched my heart. Please, God, don't let him die, I whispered again. Seconds, then minutes passed. It seemed like hours before the doctor finally turned to me. Danielle, Finnegan is very ill. I think I know what the problem is, but I need to verify it. I'll keep him here, do tests, and give him some intravenous fluids. because he's very dehydrated. We'll know more in the morning. I left his office physically exhausted and emotionally depleted. I really didn't want to leave Finnegan, but I seemed to have no choice. As I walked to the car, a strange thing happened. The turmoil I'd felt was gone, and a peace filled my heart. Perhaps God would answer my prayers. I woke early and called the animal clinic, but there was no answer. They say no news is good news, so perhaps Finnegan is doing better, I thought. Still, I dressed quickly to go and see for myself. My hopes were dashed as I entered the clinic. Dr. Smithy approached me with solemn words. Finnegan has improved slightly with intravenous fluids, he said, but the tests have come back positive for parvo. I've had many dogs have that, and they always died. It's often fatal in puppies. Since Finnegan has recently been weaned, he could have had the bacteria in his system. It can be cured, but he must have a certain drug as soon as possible, and the drug is hard to get and very expensive. It costs $1,000 per dose. It's sometimes used for people with cancer. Finnegan needs 3 doses. I'm sorry, Danielle, things don't look good. My heart plumped. Where would I get that kind of money? And even if I had the money, what if we couldn't get the medication? Again I whispered, please, oh please, dear God, help us get this medicine. An hour later the answer came. Not a drop of this drug was available in the city or the surrounding area. Now what would we do? Since I worked in a medical field, I decided to call a friend in Sterling, Virginia, and see if she could help us. She said she would see what she could do. I paced the floor and cried, and then paced some more. At times I held Finnegan, but then he seemed even more uncomfortable. I felt totally helpless, standing at his side, unable to do anything. Finally, I decided to go home, get something to eat, and freshen up. Hours later, the sound of the phone startled me. It was my Virginia friend, Punham. I have great news, she said. I found the medication, and because it is so close to the expiration date, you will not have to pay for it. I can legally donate it. What? I shrieked. My friend continued, I will pack it in dry ice and ship it by Greyhound bus within the hour. If Finnegan gets it in time, there should be remarkable change very soon. Oh, Punham, I said, crying, I don't know how to thank you. I am very truly grateful. I went to the animal hospital to be with Finnegan when he got the treatment. Again I waited, holding my breath and hoping the medication would arrive in time. Dr. Smithy met me at the door. Danielle, the drug is here, and I'm giving it to Finnegan intravenously now. Sorry, guys. Intravenously now. Come sit with him. I sat by his side, watching for an improvement. He seemed to relax, and soon was breathing in a steady pattern. I sighed. It was late, and I was bushed. Why don't you go home and get some rest, Danielle? Finnegan is holding his own, and I'll be right here. I'll let you know if anything changes. It will take 24 hours before we see the final results. Reluctant but encouraged, I headed home again. The truth hit me then. God had heard my prayer. In fact, he had performed a miracle. Finding the medication was a miracle in itself, and not being charged for it, that was incredible. I glanced at the star-studded sky. I don't know if those in heaven see and hear what is happening on earth. They do. But I truly hoped Grandma did at this time. You were right, Grandma, I whispered. God really does care about all of our needs. He answered my prayer in an absolutely amazing way. The next morning, I woke, refreshed and at peace. I called the clinic. Finnegan has made a remarkable recovery, and he's ready to go home, the doctor said. Finnegan was waiting at the door and immediately jumped into my open arms, covering my face with wet, sloppy kisses. There was no doubt in my mind that God does indeed care about pets. He answers prayer. Quietly, I offered my sincere and humble thanks to God.